What is going on, you guys? Today, I have another episode for you where we're going to be reviewing a YouTuber named Apollonia Ponti. And the title here is Reasons She Loses Respect for You, Why This Happens, and How to Turn It Around. Let's get into it.
Once a woman loses respect for you, this happens. In this video, I talk about reasons why a woman will lose disrespect. The second one will be signs that she does that she is starting to lose respect for you. And the third one will be how to turn it around in general or get out of the situation and better it for yourself. I want to go into reasons why a woman is going to lose respect for her man, but I also want to say that these are no excuses for her to lose respect for you, because I also think that it's really important for a woman and a man to be able to effectively communicate in dating or in their relationships, so it doesn't get to the ultimate crumble of disrespecting or toxicity or leaving someone out to blind and just kind of ghosting them or whatever the case may be. I think the most worthy people, the most high evolved people are the ones that actually are better at conflict resolution and making a resolution to be like, okay, this is not working or this is working or it's not, before you get to this point. But let's be honest, that doesn't all.
Don't ghost, just communicate, and don't expect someone to read your mind. Just open your mouth. It's pretty simple, right? But you'd be surprised how many people, just expect like their partner, even if they've been together for a long time, like, oh, they should just know. They should just know what's wrong. It's like you can immediately see that it's very childish, right? So just communicate, healthy in a calm manner. And if you need to step away for a little bit, just let them know, like, hey, I want to talk with you about this thing in a bit. I just need to cool off first, and we'll come back to it. See, easy.
Happen. So let's get into reasons of why a woman will lose respect for you. So first reason is you're just not sticking to your word at all. And you probably say a couple things here and there and you don't stay true to them. And she's been telling you over and over, like, I just can't trust your word, because you say one thing, you do another. And the reason why women lose a lot of respect for a man like that is because, you have to understand, like, as women, when we are attracted to a man, the attraction comes from admiration. And so you have to think about that too. Like, would you admire someone who constantly says they're going to do something but doesn't, right? So the reason why admiration is huge with women in attraction and in love is because that also makes us feel safe. I think in order for us to exist and coexist in a relationship, we have to understand there's different elements of what makes a woman feel safe than maybe a man. But I also do think that the two and two can work together, and understand that they probably do have the same elements in general, but we think sometimes we don't. But one of the elements I think that is separate from men is that women really base their attraction on the initial stages off of emotions and if they're emotionally feeling safe. And I think that's super important to understand that men should also do this too. But I think that also too, the other reason why a woman will lose respect is because maybe you're eyeing out other women in front of her and she can't trust.
Okay, well, so just to touch on the first point, right? What's crazier about that is it's true, right? Like, she's not going to respect you if you keep saying something and then not following through on your word, or saying something and then doing something else, right? And it depends, right? I guess there's levels to like how big that is. But like something that might be helpful for you is, if you've noticed this, you can say one of those things even to yourself, right? Like, I'm going to go to the gym today, and then you don't. You're already breaking your own boundaries and your own promises. So of course, then you start to not trust yourself, right? So like that same thing translates to other people. Like, you keep not, like, you're saying like, oh, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to, get in the gym. I want to, gain a few pounds of muscle, get into this kind of shape, right? Like, if they see that you're not doing that, well, it's clear that you're not taking action on it. Or maybe it's something, financial related, or like, you want to start your own business, or at least be self-employed, like you're trying to grow, or maybe you're telling them like you want to work on your communication with her, right? And then you don't. Like there's all these different things, right? And she'll see that you're not the guy that you say you are, right? Because actions speak louder than words. I mean, so I agree with that first point for sure.
Or there's some cheating going on, or things like this. Or the next one would be like, you're just always constantly raising your voice, putting her down. Maybe language is happening. And I'm not saying like, oh, I'm gonna make this video and it's shame on you, men. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just giving you reasons first before we get into signs that she is losing respect for you. Maybe she's belittling you. That is actually a sign that she's losing respect for you, or she never had it in the first place. Sometimes you lose your sense of purpose, you lose your sense of drive, or you never had one in the first place. This can make a woman lose respect for you as well. And the reason why a woman will lose respect for you in this avenue is because, again, I think that's really important to understand that even if a woman wants to bear children with you or doesn't, it's inherited in us for us to be with a man that can provide in some way. And when I say provide, doesn't mean financially. It's support. Provide support, can also provide stability for the home. And I think this is really important for a man to look for too within a woman. Another one is habitual lying, or you're constantly dictating the agenda, or dictating her, or dictating the people around you. You're constantly complaining about people. You're constantly complaining about your work, your life, your environments, and it's.
I 100% agree with that. I mean, complaining And anything like that, right? Or crying, or you know, um, I get that men are humans too, right? So like, I think you have a few exceptions, like maybe a relative's funeral or something like that. I get it, right? Don't get me wrong here, but I think what she's talking about is acting overly feminine and complaining and stressing out, anxiety. Like, you show her that you can't handle it effectively, right? Because you're supposed to be the rock for her emotions, and you can handle your own, right? I think you see what I'm saying, and really, there's no excuse for not being able to do that. Of course, it's a skill to learn, right? So I totally get that it can be challenging to get to that point, getting that emotional control. But that is like, I like that she brought that up for sure, because it just shows like what kind of man you are if you're able to, not get so emotional like that. She wants to see that you can kind of stand your ground and not fall apart. Cry, whatever it is.
Something that you are noticing that is probably putting a damper in your relationship. Another one that I've noticed of reasons why a woman will start to lose respect for you is because of the fact that there's maybe some
Or gossip, like complain and gossip. That's like very girly. So like, if you're a man, just like stop that out or cut that
addictions
out.
to pornography, addictions to drugs, addictions to alcohol, addictions to pills, whatever the case may be, whatever is unhealthy. This will also make her lose a lot of respect for you as a man. And the reason being is because, I keep saying this and I can't stress this enough. Like, men, you are the safe place for a woman when she chooses you. And a woman should be your safe place too. I think it's both, it's a partnership. And more often than not, when we become opposite of a safe place for a person, what are we going to do? We're going to rebuttal. We're going to push away. We're going to lose respect, right? And so it's really important too for that to be like on the forefront. And another one that is really important.
Okay, quick. So I agree with what you were saying. Like, if you lost your drive or the purpose thing too, right? Because, that's one thing she really wants to see in a man is drive and ambition, right? You're working towards your goals, or you accomplish your goals, and now you keep going, right? Because you want to keep leveling up. Like, you kind of like hit a goal, and then you're like, okay, well, what's next, right? So she wants to see that natural masculine drive. And if you don't have that, or you lost it, right, it's going to be hard for her to be as attracted as she would be, right? And I think that's important to note here, because a lot of guys, they'll kind of slow down, or like completely lose their passion or something, and you can see it in the woman, right? Like, she kind of like gets less excited about you, right? It's just kind of like, and she might even test you a little bit, or ask you sometimes, like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, didn't you say you were going to do this? Right, and really what she's doing, it's like a bid for connection. Like, she wants you to be like, oh, she's right. Like, let me turn on and get after it here.
Okay, gentlemen, there's two that I want to talk about, and I just want to take some time to talk about these. This one is that you're being extremely cheap. Don't kill the messenger. Okay, now, gentlemen, like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, women are not going to be attracted to a man that's being extremely cheap. They're just not. And there's a difference between taking a woman on a date within your budget, but also there's a difference between being extremely, extremely cheap and complaining about things. I remember one of my friends was attracted to this guy she went on a date with, and then I asked her what happened. She's like, never again. Well, he was complaining about how expensive the drinks were, how expensive the appetizer was, how expensive the valet was, and then saying like, oh, this meal, is like a cost of someone's like car payment. Like, he was just making all of these remarks, and she was just like, dude, like, I'll just split the bill with you after. And he was like, no, I got it. And it was just weird that he kept on complaining, and she was just not attracted to that. And I can see why.
Well, and it's not just the cheap thing. I think more so what that one is about is it goes back to the complainer thing. Like, I would say that most girls or most women don't like complainers. I mean, like, is that very manly? No. Right? Like, that's the easy answer. Oh, this is too expensive. Oh, this is a car note. I mean, like, look, I totally get it, right? Like, on one hand, you should probably not even be going to a place if that statement was true, right? Like, taking a girl out, especially in the early stages of dating, to somewhere where the restaurant bill costs something similar to a car note or a car payment. I mean, are you leading with money? Because you shouldn't be, right? Again, like, a woman will only, if she is really, really into you, really attracted, genuinely interested to get to know you, she wouldn't care if the date was free, right? I think the guy's major mistakes there were going out somewhere so expensive and complaining about it, because he could have just like They could have been going for coffee and a walk, drinks and a walk, ice cream and a walk, on a beach, downtown, park, whatever, right? Like that's easy, right? And truthfully, if she really wants you, if she really likes you, like she doesn't care where it is. She just wants to spend time with you and have that deeper connection, get to know you. So I get what she's saying, and I think it's more about how the guy navigates it, and maybe not always being cheap, right? Like maybe potentially being able to go out somewhere a little bit nicer occasionally, but it's not really so much about that, right? I mean, what I would argue for guys is to stop being like, hey, can I buy you a drink? Or hey, like taking them out to like fancy dates early on. I would wait for them to earn it and save that for like a anniversary, Christmas, a birthday. You get what I'm saying.
I think man and woman don't want to be in a relationship with someone that's constantly complaining about finances. I think it shows that you have probably a bad relationship with finances and money. And I think also too, maybe if you are cheap and you have the money, there is that relationship with money that you also have to understand that, is indefinite and it's always going to be a provider for you and you're always going to have to work for it. So that relationship needs to be healed from whatever aspect that's coming from. And the thing too is like when we become this person in front of a woman, I think she looks at it as taxing for her. I think it's like, I'm going to feel guilty for just doing something with this guy and he's paying for it every time. And then it just gives the underlining thought that this man can't be a provider for me. And I think that it's important to understand, gentlemen, like, a woman does want to be in her feminine in a relationship. Doesn't mean that she can't bring home money just as much as you do. I mean, me and my husband both bring home money, but she still wants to know that you're able to do it without kind of complaining about it. And that's really important. Another reason why she would lose respect is because you're not initiating sex. And I see this so much, and you're stepping more into your feminine when it comes to sex. You're not stepping into your masculine. This is for more long-term relationships. And a lot of times, like women that are in long-term relationships do want the man to embrace her sexually and to initiate it. And a lot of times when we get in long relationships, there's stress, there's children. I actually have a video that I'll put in the Watch Next playlist about sexless marriages and relationships if you need help with that. And I think it's important to know that, when we get to this stage in a relationship and she'll warn you and say like, I need you to initiate sometimes, like this turns me on, you're not doing it. And we kind of put that in the back burner because we're thinking, she loves me, she's never going to leave me, we'll work it out. And it kind of gets longer, delayed, and it gets worse and worse. And so what's important to understand is that these are aspects that a woman will lose respect for you. Now, am I saying it's good or bad? No, I'm not, but I'm just giving you the answers here. Now, I want you to give you signs.
Okay, well that's perfect, right? Because oftentimes if she communicates decently, right, she'll give you little signs or little subtle cues, right? Like hey, like I need you to initiate more, or like she'll bring something up that'll lead you to that. And basically, it's because she wants you to lead, right? It doesn't matter if it's sex or something else, right? Women don't like it when men can't lead, and I see this a lot with guys actually. Like they even on like a first date, right? They're like, when are you free? I can be free anytime you are. Or, like any time of the day, any day of the week. Or, where do you want to go? What do you like to do? Right? It like, there's no leading in that. Because what you can do is be like, hey, like, obviously, like we both have busy schedules this week, but it looks like I've got some time on Wednesday and Thursday around 7:30 p.m. Does that work for you? And then she can bounce back with yes or no. And if she can't, then the clear sign that she wants to make something work is she'll offer a reschedule, right? And if she doesn't offer a reschedule, no big deal. Just let her know, hey, like, all good. Maybe we'll touch base sometime next week and see if we can make a new plan, right? And you only do that once. I wouldn't recommend keep doing that, because if she's not trying to reschedule and you can't make it work, just don't bother. But this is all like, men struggling with leading. Like, you want to say what time, what place, right? Like you could be like, hey, do you like coffee or drinks? Boom, right? Because it's one of two things that you like potentially, right? And so you give like the two options and her to make the choice from the options that you chose, right? And then you can have a place in mind nearby, like it's near the bar or the coffee shop, for like a park or the beach or downtown where you can walk, or maybe even a second venue, like maybe you're getting drinks and there's a second cool bar close by. Easy guys. Like, and that leads all the way down into being married and together for a long time. Is you still need to be able to be masculine and lead, like, because a woman wants to be able to, or women want to be able to fall into their feminine and allow you to lead, because she knows that you're a good leader, right? That's probably the biggest mic drop of that whole tangent, right? Is like, she wants to know that you're a good leader. because she doesn't want to feel like she has to be the one that, is taking charge, and she's the captain now because you can't do it, right? Maybe she feels like you're not qualified, which is why she starts testing you.
Show you that a woman is losing respect for you. So the first sign is that the relationship just starts to fail. The intimacy starts to dissipate. So emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, every type of intimacy you can think of, and she's kind of in avoidance. She's going out with her friends. She's working out a lot. Like she's overindulging in some aspect of her life. A lot of times women will overindulge in the gym just as much as a man would overindulge in the gym because she's trying to get that body right and all this stuff, because this is what's going to fuel her to feel sexy, because she's not feeling sexy in face of you because everything is failing. The intimacy is failing. So she wants to find herself desirable at times too. So she might be advocating more towards something else in her life and kind of really putting a lot of energy into that avenue. And so that is a sign that a woman can start kind of losing respect for the relationship in general. Also too, the second one is she's just completely checked out. You notice that she just kind of goes with the flow of things. She's just checked out. She's just there for the kids. She's just there for you. She's just there for the day in, day out. And she's just checked out. And maybe you guys have dinner and then she goes to her room and watches her own show and falls asleep on her own. Like there's no more companionship. There's no more quality time together. And the quality time that you feel like you do spend, she's like not really involved in conversations. It's surface. She's on her phone, or she makes excuses for to do something else. The next one is a pretty prone one, and this is one you can.
Yeah, I mean, guys, like you make bids for connection, like, hey, let's watch a movie together, or don't continue the Netflix and chill lifestyle after you've been comfortable in your relationship. Like you still have to keep dating your partner, right? So those bids for connection, like, hey, let's go do something on Thursday. Even if you have kids, like maybe have someone that you trust that can watch them for at least one night a week or once every 2 weeks, something like that, right? So you show like you're still making this intentional effort for your relationship, and you go out on like a real date like you used to in the beginning, right? Because that's part of why you were both attracted to each other. So like you don't want to be becoming complacent even on the dates, right? Like you should learn, or you should know by now, not to have your phone out. That's pretty disrespectful. I don't care how long you've been dating, right? You can find something to talk about and connect more deeply over, right? And have an interesting conversation. So I think there's really no excuse for that. And the thing she was saying about the stepping out more often, that's interesting too, because I've heard guys say that about like before a woman left or before she cheated. It was like her, going to the gym a lot more, right? It was like she was like prepping for the exit of the relationship, right? And that's sad, right? Because you would like that she's prepping for you, right? Like she's wanting to stay in shape for you. So keep that in mind when you see that, because it's not necessarily a sign like she's gonna leave or cheat, but like it could show that she's becoming more detached. And of course, the gym is a good thing, right? Like in the basic sense, right? Like she's becoming more healthy and all that, but you should look out for some other signs along with that to see, like what might be going on. Like, is she being disrespectful in other ways, or because that's not really disrespectful by itself. But if she seems like she doesn't want to spend any time with you, that is a bad sign.
Really tell when a woman starts losing respect for you. And I want to preface this first. Like women, we are emotional. We have our time of the month. We go through postpartum. We go through so many things just in general. And our brain operates completely different than a man's brain most of the time because of the, emotions, the progesterone, just everything of how women's developed. Let's just put it that way. And I think it's really important to understand that sometimes we'll have snarky remarks. Sometimes we'll have a little attitude, but that's not what I mean here. What I mean here is that she always has snarky comments back at you. She tries to belittle you, and she just seems annoyed with you all the time, right? This is a big one, that she is losing respect for you. And it has to be 80% of the time, okay? Even 70 or 60% of the time. Typically, like if I get annoyed at my husband, it's like once in a while. Like it's just like, it's once in a blue moon. And so the thing is, like, it's really important to understand like this is a habitual habit in your relationship. The next one is she just looks at you totally different. Like her.
Yeah, I mean, and don't let them do that, by the way, right? It's completely unacceptable for them to belittle you just in a private space, let alone in public, right? If she's doing it in front of other people, that's even worse. Like she feels comfortable disrespecting you either in private or worse in front of other people. You got to call her out on it, right? Right, and maybe not in front of everybody, right? Like you might want to wait till you get home, or maybe like ask her like we need to go to the side for a second and talk about this. But again, like this should be accompanied with other signs, right? Because there's no excuse for her to be belittling you. But I like that it's accompanied with this video from Apollonia, because what she's saying is there is a chance that you can reflect too, right? So it's not like just her being annoying and disrespectful and belittling you. There might be a reason, like she's not feeling like you're being a good leader, or she's seeing you kind of fall apart, right? Like you're not the man that you say you seem like you were in the beginning, right? Like there's a lot of reasons why she might be starting to lose respect for you, and I want you to really take accountability and not just be a victim like, oh, it's her fault, she's belittling me. Like actually think about like potentially what some reasons for that could be. And to be honest with you, if it's not that bad, you might be able to actually communicate with her like, hey, like what's going on, and she might be able to actually tell you what she's noticed, right? And you can take that into consideration.
Face structure just changes with you. Her body language just changes with you. She's not giving you physical touch. She's not giving you words of affirmation or gifts or anything like this of showing her investment in the relationship. She just seems to be on board with you or not attracted to you. Or maybe she has resentment that's kind of building in her and she's just acting differently in front of you. This is big when a woman is losing respect for you. And last but not least, another sign that I've noticed that is pretty big.
And by the way, don't let it get to that point. This is part of like the expecting people to read your mind thing. Like guys do this, girls do this. I just had a friend tell me that he was going through this situation, right? So like, instead of letting the resentment build up, it's like it's like shaking a Coke bottle, basically, right? It's gonna explode essentially like a volcano, or you could just talk about it when it happens, right? And so it's not like all these issues, and you build up like this, like this tank. Like you've got all this ammo and now it explodes, right? You just want it to be a situation where you just talk it through and you don't build a resentment towards each other. Because you could really just probably solve the problem right then and there. Instead, some people decide like, oh, like they should know because we've been dating for a long time. They should get me, right? It's like, how old are we, right? Are you a child? Just communicate. Use your mouth, right? I mean, and if you need to step away for a little bit, to cool off, cool, do that, right? But definitely come back to them to talk it through in a calm manner, because that's much more effective.
In regards to her losing respect is that everything you say, you notice that it becomes combative. She thinks it's an issue or it isn't correct or it's a problem, and she's trying to always fix the problem or always tell you what's wrong or always tell you why there's a problem, and it continues to be combative, and it's because like she has a state of annoyance with you. And typically this happens because in her eyes you're failing at something, and she is basically looking down at you, which isn't a really good thing to say, and to see and to be in, obviously. And so let's talk about ways that we can start to turn this around, okay? If this is you. First and foremost, like I want you to remember that love is not an excuse to tolerate disrespect of any kind in a relationship, man or woman. I just want to preface that now, since we're talking about this in a relationship and why women will lose respect, okay? I think it's important to understand that the 3 C's in a relationship need to be in the forefront as soon as you date a woman and have these values implemented in your relationship. The 3 C's are communication, compatibility, and commitment. And so 2 of you should be really understanding like these are the 3 main sources of what's going to keep our relationship together if we were to get in one. And you want to see that the both of you have these 3 values, I think, before you get into a relationship, because a lot of times things happen in life that you have no control over, and you need that support from your partner to kind of really lift you up and take you to the next level. And so it's important to understand that when we're in a relationship and when respect starts to dwindle down in a relationship, it's honestly because a lot of things were ignored, plain and simple. A lot of things were ignored, they weren't talked about, they were put in the back burner, and a lot of times you maybe both don't like conflict, so you just try to avoid it altogether. And this is actually not a healthy place to be, gentlemen. And the more that you grow in relationship, it's because you're able to resolve conflict. And so one of the things that I want you to stress, I can't stress enough, is if you're dating, choose someone who is communicative and you become communicative yourself. If you're in a relationship, seek help, seek support, because long-term relationships, they harbor a lot of resentment towards things as well that can be the barrier of the loss of respect. And also too, like we don't want to lose sight of the habits that articulate our self-esteem, that give us better self-worth. Like what are the things that you maybe lost sight of in your relationship? And let's start gravitating towards that and getting back to that. Let's take some space, some time apart, some really time to really think about like, who am I without her, right? And really get back to your bearings as a man. I think this is super important on ways to like kind of gain her respect back. And then really focusing on like, how am I not showing up for my best self? I think it's really important to focus the lens on you, because you can't fix anybody else. You can only lead by example and hope that person that loves you follows. And I think a lot of times, like, when I talk to men, they're like, she's losing respect for me. And I'm like, okay, well, how do you guys argue? Are you the one yelling too? Do you both yell? They're like, yeah, I yell, I get mad, and I have like this, have a little bit of a...
And there's no excuse for that, by the way. No yelling, no getting mad. That's why you need to be able to step away for a little bit and create a little bit of space. And what she means by that, it's not like you're spending days, weeks, months, years apart, right? Like if someone asks for space in that way, you might just want to give them like hey, like if you want space from the relationship, then either we can talk it out in a calm manner now and maybe work to find a solution, because it would be cool if we were able to work it out and stay together, because I really like you, kind of thing. Or if they seem like they don't want to do that, then maybe that's a good time to break up or cut it off, right? But what she's talking about is different. It's like this a little small issue, right? Or small-ish, let's say, right? And so like you feel like you need some time to kind of cool your head before having the conversation. That's different. But I would say don't spend too much time apart, because that adds to the resentment. And actually, one thing I was thinking about during that too is don't consult your family and your friends as therapists for your relationship, right? And here's why. Because sometimes single people will keep each other single, or miserable people will keep each other miserable. It's like crabs in a bucket, right? So if they don't like you, or if they already have a reason not to like you, they're going to help them break up with you, right? Now, I guess the flip side could be true if they're very supportive of you, right? But if they only know the negative, like if for example, one of the people in the relationship only ever comes to their friend or their family for advice on the relationship when it's a negative situation, right? They might have a negative impression of you and they don't even know you, potentially, right? Or they might have more negative instead of more positive, right? So it'll be harder for them to defend you, right? So which is why, truthfully, I would recommend that you solve all of your relationship conflicts and communications between you two and not bringing it to someone else. And now you can see why, right? Because it's not going to help to have a third party involved in your relationship. See what I'm saying?
And I'll yell back at her and she yells at me. Like, well, that's not going to resolve anything. You have to be the bigger person. So you choose who's going to be the bigger person. Because unfortunately, I mean, I should say fortunately, not unfortunately, but unfortunately it has to be one person. Unfortunately, it has to be, I think, the man, because the man is the structure. The man holds the house together. And I think that if you lead by example, you're going to show her like where you stand, and that's going to build attraction, especially if you have limits now, if you have boundaries, if you're setting a new tone in the household. She might get really annoyed with it, but also too, if you prevail through the annoyance and you are really on a healthy track, that will be taken fairly well in the long run. And I think this is really important, is that we forget to embrace our standards, our values, and we don't lead by example. And we want that person or the woman we're dating to respect us, but yet we're not respecting ourselves or her. So you have to lead by example. And for a man that just kind of chooses really bad women, that he's a nice guy and gets walked all over and all this stuff, like, I just want to be really clear to you. When a woman doesn't respect you, it doesn't mean that you're a loser, you're a simp, or any of that. It means that you need to work on your self-worth. It's always resided in you. It's just starving for you to pay attention to it. And I think that is where we go wrong in choosing the women that are going to be bad for us when there's ones out there that are going to be great for us waiting for us. And it's because of you not looking at yourself as, you know, a great man that can offer great resources of your love to a woman. And instead we're just going in relationships with toxic women and being the nice guy and being the good guy and not having a suggestion, or not having, I mean, I should say, a mouthpiece on us, where we're being unapologetically honest, we're asserting ourselves, we're showing intent, we're leading our lives, we have passion within ourselves, we're comfortable in our healthy masculine, all of that. And so understand that if nothing works, you just have to take time, because as time evolves, you'll find a partner that genuinely cares about you. And especially if you're doing the work on yourself and showing up the best person you can, I can guarantee you that you will find someone who genuinely appreciates your habits, who appreciates you as a person and how you show up in a relationship. Where we get stuck is because we're trying to make something work based off of time, based off of beauty, based off of so many other things out there. And so I want you to understand that the way through this, if you're in a relationship or with a woman that you feel like is just losing respect for the relationship, is you have to see that there is a way through this. Like, if she's able to assert herself by trying to understand you and you trying to understand her, this is a good place to be, and this is where it needs to start. So if you need any help in your relationships or anything, you can book a private.
Yeah, I mean, this is really great, right? And she brought up two good points at the end, right? She's going to notice that you're a good leader when you're able to actually go back into your masculine frame and lay a boundary. For example, it could be anything, but one of the good ones she mentioned was like, hey, I want to talk through this with you and come to a solution since we have a disagreement right now. And so I'm going to need to take a little bit of time to think through this, right? So like, we're basically saying like, we're not going to have the conversation right now in this moment where we're both mad, but we're going to cool off first and come back level-headed and talk through everything, right? You're leading. She's seeing that you can be a good leader in that situation, and she might seem annoyed, like, no, we need to talk about it now, but don't break there, right? That's where you say, actually, no, it would be best if we took a little bit of time here just to cool off, and then we'll come back to it. All right. So you're showing her that, you're the man, you're leading. And one last thing that she mentioned that was really good there was taking accountability. She didn't say it in this way, but it made me think about this. Like, whether it's the man or the woman, taking accountability for the type of relationship you've created. Like, you've sort of taught someone that they can respect you, or that they can walk all over you and disrespect you or belittle you, right? And that's obviously a bad thing. Like, you don't want to teach someone that it's okay to do that, which is why you need to call it out when it happens. But also, better yet, learn to date people that aren't disrespectful, right? Which, by the way, means that both sides need to be accountable. If they keep encountering, all my relationships are toxic, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, why is that? What's the reason that you keep attracting toxic relationships, right? Like, do you not feel like you deserve more? Like, is it like a low self-worth thing? Or, is it something else? Like, maybe you're contributing, like some of your mannerisms or behaviors are closer to like the toxic side than the healthy side. So you keep attracting more of something that's similar to you, right? So this is the ultimate accountability, because that sucks to hear. It's like, damn, like, okay, there's something about me that I need to change in order to love myself enough to attract a partner, like be the person that I want to attract, like a healthy person with green flags that can create a fulfilling relationship with me, great communication, etc. Right? So that's enough for me, but thank you guys for watching. And if you like the video, share this with someone who you think may benefit from the message. By the way, I'm starting to do private consultations with guys. So if you're interested, I put a link down below where you can book a call, and I can see if I can help you with, some self-improvement, fitness, dating, maybe becoming like self-employed so you can break free and maybe live somewhere else in the world if you want to, starting your own business kind of thing. In general, right? Like all these things around men's self-improvement. So if you're interested, you can book a call below. And outside of that, guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. You got this, bro.